So guys, I realized anytime I said textures, I meant materials. Sorry. Hello, and in all seriousness here, it's JJ Awesomeness, and today we're going to rank the top 10 Bloxburg textures. So, if you don't know what Bloxburg textures are, they are legit this list that you see right in front of your eyes. I don't know how to say anything else. But yeah, these Bloxburg textures could add a layer of realism and a layer of depth to your builds to make them way better. But like all things in life, it's good and bad. There are really bad textures and really good textures. So with that note, I'm going to rank the top 10 Bloxburg textures. So, before saying this, I have to also stress that people have different opinions, and we probably had different opinions. So, yeah. So, number 10 I think is the leaf texture. Now wait, before you click off this video, I think the leaf texture is a very underrated texture in the Bloxburg community. I think the leaf texture is very useful in quote-unquote aesthetic builds. The leaf texture adds a layer of detail on your carpets and on walls, giving that aesthetic feel that we usually see in paintings. Coming in 9th place is the futuristic pattern. I think this texture is the best sort of wallpaper texture in a way. The futuristic pattern works in a variety of situations, unlike the leaf tile. Lastly is simply just a nice tile that gives a nice layer of detail to your walls. So coming in 8th place is a texture called the stone lines. Well, that makes sense. Anyways, the stone lines are the legitimately perfect texture for a suburban house. This texture is one of the most, if not the most, realistic textures because it looks so much like a suburban house. Like, I'm going to show you 2 images on the screen. That looks very similar. Well, then you're probably asking, why is it ranked so low on the list? Well, the stone lines only work for a suburban house. Additionally, they only work in an exterior of a suburban house, which gives it a limited availability. Next up, we have number 7, which is the marble texture. The marble texture is like the go-to texture for counters and whatnot. The marble texture doesn't only fit into counters, it fits into floors, it fits into walls. That's what makes it such a good texture. It is very diverse in the things that it could have. The marble texture is such a great, clean texture, and I just love it. So yeah, it's on the top 10. So, number 6 is the asphalt shingles. The asphalt shingles. Whoa, that texture. This texture beat out marble by just a little bit. Because it beat out marble because it just has such a wide variety, even wider than marble. It is one of the very few textures that work inside and outside of a build. For example, I see this a lot in interior builds. Additionally, I use it a lot in sort of exterior builds as like a side of a house or something like that. It even works very well as a patio flooring. This is definitely one of Bloxburg's most versatile texture. Now we are at our top 5. Starting in at number 5 is the rectangular tile. One of my most popular videos is how to plan a town in Bloxburg, and just as a tip, this is a very great texture for that. You use this in schools, you use this in subways, it's just like everywhere. I could see this being used even in a regular house, I could see this being used in a restaurant, I could see this being used in many different buildings. And if we just focus on the simple design of it, it's a nice, simple, basic texture that makes such an impact. And that's why it's ranked number 5 on this list. Okay, now we're at number 4. Number 4 is actually the acoustic ceiling tiles. Like, if you don't have this in your house, add it in your house. The reason why this is one of my most favorite textures is because it is basically the only texture that is for a ceiling. Yes, you have something like concrete, but it's not really meant to be in a ceiling. This tile is meant to be in a ceiling. It's for the ceiling. I really don't know what other way to put it. It's an amazing texture, and it basically works for any theme. Well, except for rustic. Lastly, this is another one of Bloxburg's realistic textures. I mean, the realism of this texture is amazing. Concrete. I mean, who doesn't love concrete? I need to take what I said about the asphalt singles because basically concrete is the most versatile block, no doubt about it. You could see concrete on the floor, you can see concrete on the walls, you can see concrete on the ceiling, you can see concrete on the exterior and the interior. Concrete is everywhere. It's a very simple texture that makes such an impact, like the rectangular tiles. Heck, I know why pita bread uses this texture so much. It's just so good. A really good view of this texture in action is on my tips and tours video of my mall. You see my mall, the whole entire exterior is made out of concrete. It doesn't look like it, but it is. This goes to show the power of how concrete can detail stuff and also make it simplistic at the same time. Wood. Wood is definitely one of the best textures. Heck, I'm gonna even change the background brown because of wood. Wood is not the most versatile texture, however, it is definitely one of the most realistic and one of the most detailed in a way. You see, I find myself relying on wood to do the little small details, like desk, like nightstand, sometimes even bigger objects, like walls. I go even as far to say, without it, I may not even play Bloxburg. It's just that good of a texture. Alright, I think I may have over-exaggerated a little bit, but you still get the point. Wood is amazing. Now, before we get into our top texture, here are some other honorable mentions. These textures really aren't that versatile, but are really nice. And there are some of my personal favorites. Now our number one texture is the planks long. This is a very overused texture, but I think that's for a good reason. Firstly, the planks long is very realistic. It has a very realistic texture, similar to ones we see in real life. Additionally, the planks long can be used in many sort of scenarios, such as bathrooms, such as the living room, such as dining rooms. It's very useful in those two ways. And honestly, why I rank it number one, it's just a nice texture. It's a texture that stood out to me first time I even played Bloxburg. It's a texture that really makes an impact on the game as a whole. So guys, that is my top 10 list. I did sound a little bit tired in the last part, but I was tired. Anyways, if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you like the channel, make sure to subscribe. This has been JG Awesomeness, and bye. Like